Doge and ETH, a match made in heaven. We're going to find out today as we dive a little deeper and take a look of how the Doge Ethereum bridge is going to work. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Tech Path. As you guys know, we do these market movers, and the idea behind a market mover is pretty straightforward. We gather a bunch of data, we pull together some research, and we blend it together in a nice little package and deliver something to you, hopefully get you on the right direction. It is not investment advice, but it does help you, hopefully, kind of move into the idea of where you're going to go with your own research. Now, one thing that is different about today's episode is we actually had a user in our chat over the past couple of days, Brandon Payne. Hey, shout out to you. He said, hey, let's do a little bit more on the Doge-ETH bridge. What will Doge do if this really kind of takes off? We agreed with him already. Doge and ETH was kind of moving into our radar. And it was one of those things that Brandon kind of said, hey, let's get it going. So we said, hey, let's go in, get the research done, go a little deeper on this and bring it to you guys. I want to jump to coin market cap quickly. 1.5 trillion in holding. We're still bumping the $38,000 to $40,000 range on Bitcoin. And of course, if you look right here on Doge, and it's holding in at the 20 cent, up still lightly over the last week. However, I do think there is some fireworks on the horizon here. Let's take a look at Trade the Chain. This is kind of an interesting chart because with Doge, which is typically erratic, and with the fact that Vitalik and Ethereum and the whole idea around a developer team moving into this bridge for payment transaction could really create a very interesting storm. And I want to kind of show you a little bit about where this is going. But if you look at all the way back here on July 21st, sentiment was down under 54. Price was holding around 20 cents. We got this nice little bump right here on price at 22, almost 23 cents. And it had moved a little bit of softness. And then we've got this little bubble right here that's occurring right now, which could take us into the end of the week on where Doge could make it back up into some very interesting applications. One thing to compare this to is the whole idea of ETH 2.0 and how it is going to really kind of change the game, I think. Even though there are naysayers out there on ETH 2.0, and I do understand you, and even one of our friends of the channel, he and I have had many conversations about the IP and just kind of this whole protocol that's going in place for ETH 2.0. But the fact that they've got 200,000 validators, presently staking 14 billion in ETH, we covered this the other day on the show with Lisa, and the whole concept is Ethereum potentially on its elevator ride, which we believe that it is. All that playing into this, how does this start to connect to Doge? Now, here's the thing that is starting to happen. First of all, the fact that Vitalik and Ethereum, the protocol, has really taken Doge kind of under its wing and really looked at this a little harder in the sense, one, is the mass adoption of Dogecoin. You know, in terms of the crypto community, there is a mass adoption that's happening. And because of that, the layer into which the Doge Ethereum bridge is going to happen is in play. And there's some very serious movement here. Let me kind of jump to this article here where it kind of explains a little bit about what this bridge is going to do. The ETH bridge basically allows investors to send Dogecoin from the Doge blockchain to the Ethereum blockchain, converting them into Doge tokens. These can interact with different exchanges like DeFi before returning back as a Doge blockchain and as a Dogecoin via the ETH bridge. So the whole idea is a payment architecture to really kind of go, and there's a little highlight down here. This was a live interview with not only the Ethereum team, it had Vitalik on it. It was over on Twitch. I'll leave the link on there, but just to give you guys a look, this was done, you probably know this user over on Twitch. It's going to pop up right here. Nickel, of course, was hosting it, but it was one of the users that was in there, which is Sama Green. She's a big, well, interesting, I'll say, interesting Twitch participant out there and how she gets into it. But she did ask some really good questions of Vitalik and his team, along with Oscar, which is the Doge developer lead on the bridge. So Oscar's, listen, he's a major player. When you look at the creds that are in this group and the amount of development, chops that are moving on this project, it's a pretty impressive team. The other thing that's applicable to this was a piece by Market Realist, and I want to just kind of zoom in on this. The idea is still working with ETH and Doge Labs, which is trying to create this whole thing. So the co-founder, obviously with Vitalik, said, hey, listen, having a secure Doge to Ethereum would be amazing. So it's basically going to look at trying to both scale and be compatible with all of the Ethereum assets, which could really kind of start to chain things up. That's where Doge Labs comes into play. This is a group out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they're focused on basically kind of developing these commercial apps on the Doge protocol and kind of playing it all together. They connect the dots also. Here was a Reddit piece that really kind of started to show where AppSwarm and also the company Data Syndicate kind of jumps into how all of this piece is coming together. So Data Syndicate is a fintech accelerator focused on the intersection of cryptocurrencies. Then you've got AppSwarm, which is a tech company specializing in accelerated development and publishing of mobile apps. So again, back to the whole idea of where Doge Labs plugs into all of these things, it starts to bring the right kind of companies together. Here's the thing, when you look at Doge and what, I almost think that Elon kind of had a little bit of foresight as to where this might be going in terms of Doge Labs, AppSwarm, Data Syndicate, ETH, all these companies that have kind of come together and really said, wait a minute, maybe there is something here. Obviously, we're looking at Doge, a very popular cryptocurrency. It is a meme coin, but it's also got a rabid fan base, no pun intended. And of course, as you can see, just the audience that we have are very interested in kind of the evolution of this. But where this really starts to get into interesting things is the ability to leverage that payment architecture, the speed in which this potentially could play, and working all this into a functionality of utilizing it in real use case scenarios for payment. And when you look at that, I want to jump to some of the companies 15 well-known companies that currently are going all in on Dogecoin. Mavericks, all right, there's the Kessler Connection, Kronos, Bots, Air Baltic, EasyDNS, Post Oak Motor Cars, Newegg, SpaceX, Estate Diamond and Jewelry, Energy Electric. You can kind of see there's some people in here that are really kind of moving in the right direction. So if you could think of this expanding with the ETH Bridge coming into play and the functionality of real Doge payments coming into a mobile app type application, how fast could this ramp up into a lot of use case scenarios, maybe even into something, and we saw the Amazon news, we did see them kind of rebut that, but are they and have they really? I think Amazon is still moving in that direction. They're just playing a little bit of a chess and a coin mouse game with where cryptocurrency and how to deal with this, because the minute that something like this plugs in, when I say something like this, meaning Doge, plugs into a real payment architecture, much like Lightning is with Bitcoin, and how it can be utilized in capability of expanding that network. These are the kind of things I think this bridge will start to do with where it's going. I want to jump over here also to Trade the Chain, just to take a look at Dogecoin and kind of where the sentiment has been flowing. As you saw back on Trade the Chain, sorry, I'm going to jump to TradingView, but as you saw back here on Trade the Chain, you see this little bubble right here. What we're feeling right now is this really high sentiment model. And when I go over here to my TradingView analysis, just to jump back all the way back into June, this was June 17th during this big drop of Doge, and that sentiment scored at 65.08, which was tremendous. But the amplification was holding at 55.49, which kind of indicated that we were going to see that fall off and a little bit of movement, and then this chop that eventually started happening with Dogecoin. Then we recorded this most recent one, which was July 9th, and this ran out here till July 17th. This sentiment score held at 61.03, another big sentiment opportunity. And then the amplification score, which was very interesting at 59.21, is much stronger, which of course starts to follow along this track of the actual trading and volume of Doge almost per step for everything that we've got in terms of the amplification scoring. But here's the scenario that is very interesting right here of what is happening in this amplification zone right here. That is what is showing up over here entree the chain. And that's going back to this zone right here. So we've got validation on the fact that there is something happening here, whether it is something around the ETH2 or the ETH bridge, or are we seeing just the ability for Doge to kind of track, much like many other altcoins do, with Bitcoin's price and also Ethereum's price. If Doge starts to really connect here and we get application and some real movement in the development from Vitalik's team, this could get very interesting very quick because of the fact that we've already seen mass adoption. So you don't have to go out and sell this. The opportunity here with Doge Labs and what they're doing with AppSwarm and some of those kind of companies, and I think there will be other companies that kind of come to the game of trying to figure out how to maybe utilize this in real case applications for payment. This starts to get very interesting because as you start to up the game in terms of the players and their abilities, especially when you look at the ETH developers team that is already involved in this, and then you've got AppSwarm, Doge Labs, and of course the data houses that are starting to play into this. This, as I said, gets very, very interesting. And you layer in the application of someone like an Elon Musk, someone like a Mark Cuban, people that are really passionate around these kinds of fan frenzy type moves, which is really kind of what made and put Dogecoin on the map. There's a lot of oars in the water here for where Doge is going. And, you know, we used to laugh at this meme coin and really kind of just, it's part of the pop culture of cryptocurrency and in general. I think Doge is starting to gain a little traction here in a very serious way. If payment connects to it in a real serious model through the ETH bridge, this has real serious opportunity, and I think it could really start to change the format of how Doge is going to start to be traded and looked at as an investment class asset. Yes, I said it could be an investment class asset, especially if you plug in all these things and pull this together. So lots of potential here. Back to the trading view chart. We see this thing in a little tight window at around 26 cents, but we do look at this bubble right here where we could see that 26 to 27 cent range, 24 cent range with a little bit of a drop. The question is, can it make this window right here? The key here is as we look at amplification and how sentiment starts to layer, I want to pull this data set right here, but it's just too short of a time run to really get a good accurate amplification. Usually you need at least a good 24-hour period to kind of understand where the potential leading indicators are pointing around amplification. And this is, again, back to the water cooler community and kind of how all this plugs into social media and also cryptocurrency in general. Because remember, there's not a fundamental platform, even in Bitcoin, even as strong as Bitcoin is, the fundamentals are not there. This is still a speculative product. It's still a speculative instrument and an entirely whole system or ecosystem that is driven off of what people do and say, in most cases on social. And a lot is going now towards driving news and a lot of that. So you got to be careful about where you're picking up your news. We cover a lot of the news segments. There's probably 30 different news sources now that are essentially classified as premium news sources in the crypto space. We, of course, are debunking many of them here on the show, following and then looking at kind of like what happened with the Amazon story that broke on a premium news outlet and then basically came back and they kind of retracted the scenario. Those kind of things I think are happening more and more. There's some other things that are happening around this in terms of other applications that are being kind of played out in front of our very eyes, including the banking system, and where we're going to see things like, I don't know, some of these payment applications are going to start to move into banks, how XRP might play into this. We got more to talk about on that one for sure, because we got some inside data coming in and that I think will help us understand a little bit more about what's happening over on the XRP. So XRP Army, I know you're out there. Make sure if you're listening in over on the podcast, the main thing that we look for is feedback, much like Brandon gave us for this show. And of course, if you're here on YouTube, you've got to hit the comments. This is the way that we get ideas. It's the way we get basically connected to the right people. So many people in our channel, on our Twitter stream, have been able to connect us with the right kind of people, connect us with interviews, help us understand projects deeper. That's really how the community works here on TechPath. That's the best way to reach us. And of course, you can do that easy. Hit us up on email. Nah, forget email. Let's go on Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.